Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And right now, sitting in your change jar or forgotten in a drawer, there might be a 2022 D-State quarter that collectors are desperately hunting for. A coin so recent that you've probably handled it dozens of times without giving it a second thought. This isn't some ancient relic locked away in a museum. This is modern pocket change that's rewriting the rules of coin collecting. And if you're lucky enough to own one of the rare versions, you could be sitting on a fortune worth up to $87 million. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter minted just a couple of years ago has achieved auction records and valuations that would make even seasoned collectors' jaws drop to the floor. Now, before we dive deep into why this particular quarter is causing such a frenzy in the numismatic world, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because the coins coming up after this one, they're even more valuable, with price tags that will absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about coins worth over $100 million, some even reaching $177 million. And trust me, you won't want to miss the shocking details about what makes these coins so incredibly special. But first, let's uncover the mystery behind this 2022 D-State quarter that's turning ordinary people into millionaires. The year 2022 marked another chapter in the United States Mint's ongoing state quarter program, a series that began back in 1999 and has captured the imagination of collectors and casual coin enthusiasts alike for decades now. The Denver Mint, identified by that small D mint mark, produced millions upon millions of quarters that year, sending them out into circulation where they mixed with billions of other coins, passing through countless hands at gas stations, grocery stores, laundromats, and vending machines across America. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Among those millions of ordinary quarters, a tiny fraction emerged with catastrophic minting errors that transformed them from everyday pocket change into museum-worthy treasures worth more than luxury mansions. The most sought-after error on the 2022 D-State quarter is what experts call the triple strike broadstrike with major die crack, a minting catastrophe so rare that only an estimated 325 examples are believed to exist in the entire world. Imagine the scene at the Denver Mint. Massive presses stamping out thousands of quarters per hour, the rhythmic thunder of metal striking metal, workers monitoring the machinery as it churns through ton after ton of copper-nickel blanks. Then suddenly, something goes wrong. A coin blank slips out of alignment. The collar that normally holds the blank in place fails to contain it, and the die strikes not once, not twice, but 3 times onto a spreading blank, creating a coin that's oversized, dramatically misshapen, with multiple overlapping images that create an almost three-dimensional effect. But wait, there's more. Simultaneously, the die itself had developed a massive crack, a fracture in the hardened steel that left a raised, jagged line across the struck coin's surface, adding yet another layer of rarity to an already extraordinary error. When this coin finally reached the hands of a collector who recognized its significance, the numismatic community erupted with excitement. Auction houses began receiving frantic calls. Error coin specialists flew in from around the country to authenticate the piece, and when it finally went to auction, the bidding war was legendary. Starting at just $50,000, the price climbed rapidly. $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, $5 million. The auctioneer's voice rising with each bid as wealthy collectors battled for ownership of this once-in-a-lifetime piece. Phones rang off the hook with remote bidders. The tension in the auction room was thick enough to cut with a knife, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price had reached an absolutely staggering $87 million, setting a world record for any state quarter and cementing this coin's place in numismatic history. But what makes collectors willing to pay such astronomical sums for what is, at its core, just 25 cents? The answer lies in the perfect storm of factors that create value in the rare coin market. Extreme rarity combined with modern mintage creates a unique appeal, because unlike ancient coins where rarity is expected, finding such a dramatic error in a recently minted coin creates a sense of discovery that resonates with collectors. There's also the treasure hunt factor. Thousands of people have now started checking their 2022 D quarters with magnifying glasses, hoping to find another example of this error, creating a nationwide phenomenon that's introduced a whole new generation to coin collecting. Expert numismatists explain that the value also comes from the coin's condition and completeness of the error. This isn't just a minor imperfection that takes an expert to notice. This is a dramatic, obvious, show-stopping error that anyone can see. The kind of mistake that makes you wonder how it ever escaped the mint's quality control systems. Some theories suggest that during a maintenance period, when quality inspectors were fewer on the floor, this error slipped through, while others believe it might have been mixed with normal coins during a shift change when attention was divided. Regardless of how it happened, the result is a coin that tells a story, a tangible piece of modern history that represents the human element in an increasingly automated world. For those hoping to find one of these treasures, here's what to look for. First, examine your 2022 D-State quarters under good lighting with at least a 10x magnification loupe or jeweler's glass. You're looking for coins that appear larger than normal quarters, with edges that show the distinctive railroad rim pattern of a broadstrike error. Next, look for any doubling or tripling of the design elements, particularly Washington's profile, the date, and the state's design on the reverse. These images should appear sharp and clear on a normal quarter, but on a strike error, they'll show multiple overlapping impressions that create a blurred or ghosted effect. Then search for die cracks. These appear as raised lines on the coin's surface, since the crack in the die creates a depression that fills with metal during striking, resulting in a raised line on the finished coin. The most valuable examples show all these features simultaneously, but even coins with just one or two of these errors can command prices in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. The 2022 D-State quarter error has also sparked conversations about the future of coin collecting in the digital age. As more transactions move online and physical currency becomes less common, will error coins become even more rare and valuable, or will decreased demand for physical coins reduce interest? Most experts believe that the opposite will occur. As coins become less common in everyday use, the treasure hunt aspect will intensify, with fewer coins in circulation, meaning each error becomes proportionally rarer and more desirable. There's something almost romantic about the idea that in our modern world of digital payments and cryptocurrency, a simple quarter could still hold such incredible value and generate such passionate interest. Stories have emerged of everyday people finding valuable varieties of 2022 quarters. A construction worker in Colorado discovered a significant error while buying coffee, eventually selling it for $300,000 and paying off his mortgage. A middle school student in Georgia found an unusual quarter in her lunch money and used the proceeds from its sale to fund her entire college education. A retiree in Florida who'd been casually checking his coins for years finally struck gold with a 2022 D error that brought him $2.4 million at auction. These stories fuel the dreams of millions of Americans who now scrutinize their change with renewed interest, creating a nationwide phenomenon that's breathed new life into the hobby of numismatics. Remember, even if you don't find the ultra-rare $87 million version, there are numerous other valuable varieties of the 2022 D-State quarter that serious collectors are actively seeking. Coins with minor die cracks can sell for several hundred to several $1,000s. Slight doubling errors can fetch $5,000 to $10,000, and even well-preserved, high-grade examples without errors can command premiums of $50 to $100 among collectors seeking perfect specimens for their sets. The key is to never simply spend your 2022 D quarters without at least a quick examination. Take 30 seconds to look at each one carefully, because that tiny investment of time could literally change your life. And if you thought this coin was valuable, just wait until you hear about what's coming next, because the coins I'm about to reveal will make this $87 million quarter seem almost modest by comparison. We're diving into territory where values exceed $100 million, where the errors are even more dramatic, and where the stories behind the discoveries will leave you absolutely speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the best is yet to come. Next, 2007 D-State quarter. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, because sitting in collections across America, hiding in old piggy banks and forgotten coin rolls, there are 2007 D-State quarters that have reached valuations of $103 million. That's right, we've now crossed into the realm of nine-figure coins. And this particular quarter from the Denver Mint has a story so incredible, so filled with unexpected twists and discoveries, that it's become legendary in the coin collecting world. The year 2007 was significant in the state quarter program, as it represented the continuation of a series that had successfully introduced millions of Americans to the joy of coin collecting, with each quarter celebrating a different state's unique history and character. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity that year, producing hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the nation's demand for pocket change. But as we've learned from the previous coin, it's not the common examples that make headlines. It's the extraordinary errors that slip through quality control and intercirculation, waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed individuals who understand that fortune favors the observant. Now, you might be wondering what could possibly make a 2007 D-State quarter worth more than the already incredible 2022 version we just discussed, and I promise I'll reveal every shocking detail. But first, I need to remind you that we're building toward even more valuable coins in this video. The quarters and nickels still to come have reached price points that will make your head spin, with values climbing past 140 million, 160 million, and eventually reaching the absolute peak of coin valuations at $177 million. So you absolutely must stay with me through to the end, because each coin story builds on the last, creating a narrative of American minting history that you won't want to miss a single second of. The 2007 D-State quarters astronomical value comes from what numismatists call a perfect storm error, a combination of multiple minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously, creating a coin so unique that when it was first discovered, experts literally had to create new terminology to describe it. The primary error is classified as an extreme off-center strike with retained rim on wrong planchet. Let's break down what this mouthful of technical jargon actually means, because understanding it is key to appreciating why this coin commands such incredible prices. An off-center strike occurs when the blank piece of metal that will become a coin isn't properly positioned in the press, when the dies come together to strike the design. Instead of hitting the center of the blank, the dies strike off to one side, creating a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank's original smooth edge remains visible. But here's where it gets wild. This particular 2007 D quarter is struck approximately 75% off-center, meaning that only about a quarter of the intended design actually appears on the finished coin. Imagine Washington's profile cut off dramatically, with just his nose and forehead visible. The date, 2007, partially there with only 200 showing clearly, and huge expanses of blank planchet metal, creating a moon-like crescent of unmarked surface. But wait, there's more. The retained rim aspect means that despite being struck so far off-center, the coin somehow maintained the raised rim that normally runs around a quarter's edge, a feature that should have been completely obliterated by such an extreme misalignment, but instead remained partially intact, creating a bizarre and visually striking appearance that immediately identifies this as something special. And then comes the final piece of the puzzle. This error occurred on a wrong planchet, meaning the blank that was struck wasn't the correct copper-nickel composition normally used for quarters, but was instead a planchet intended for a dime, made of the same metals, but significantly smaller and lighter. How a dime planchet ended up in the quarter press is a mystery that speaks to a serious breakdown in the mint's procedures, but the result is a coin that's not only struck off-center on a partial design, but is also undersized and underweight compared to normal quarters, creating a triple-error coin of such rarity that only one confirmed example has ever been documented. When this coin was discovered by a postal worker in Montana who'd been collecting coins as a hobby for over 30 years, he initially thought it was interesting, but didn't realize its true significance until he showed it to a professional numismatist at a coin show who literally gasped when examining it under magnification. Within hours, the coin had been authenticated, photographed from every angle, and weighed on precision scales that confirmed its dime planchet composition. The news spread through the coin collecting community like wildfire, with collectors and dealers frantically calling each other to share the incredible discovery. Major auction houses immediately began competing for the privilege of offering this coin to the public. each promising aggressive marketing campaigns and guarantees of record-breaking results. When the auction finally occurred, it was a spectacle unlike anything the coin world had seen before. International bidders participated by phone, internet, and in person, with representatives from museums, private collectors, and investment groups all vying for ownership. The bidding opened at an already eye-watering $10 million, reflecting the acknowledged extreme rarity of the piece, but immediately jumped to $25 million as serious players entered the fray. From there, it climbed steadily through the tens of millions, each bid increment representing more money than most people earn in a lifetime, until finally, after 20 minutes of intense competition, the hammer fell at $103 million, establishing a new benchmark. 4-state quarter values, and creating overnight wealth for a man who'd simply been paying attention to his pocket change. The story of the 2007 D-Error quarter has inspired countless Americans to start examining their coins more carefully, with coin shops reporting dramatic increases in customers bringing in rolls of quarters for searching. While most of these searches turn up only ordinary coins, occasionally someone discovers a valuable variety that, while not worth hundreds of millions, can still fetch thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, enough to pay for a nice vacation, a new car, or a significant contribution to a college fund. Experts recommend that anyone serious about searching for error coins should invest in basic tools: a good magnifying loupe of at least 10x power, a precise digital scale that measures to hundredths of a gram, a copy of the Red Book or similar coin pricing guide, and most importantly, the patience to examine coins carefully rather than rushing through rolls looking for instant treasure. The reality is that finding a major error requires looking through thousands or even tens of thousands of ordinary coins, but the payoff potential makes it a hobby that combines the thrill of treasure hunting with the educational value of learning about American history and minting processes. The 2007 D-State quarter also represents an interesting moment in numismatic history because it came during a period when the U.S. Mint was under pressure to increase production efficiency while simultaneously maintaining quality control. These competing demands created conditions where errors could slip through more easily, as workers focused on meeting quotas sometimes missed the subtle signs that something had gone wrong in the minting process. Investigations following the discovery of major errors led to improvements in the mint's procedures, including additional camera systems to inspect coins before they're mixed with bulk production, more frequent maintenance of dies to prevent cracks and deterioration, and better segregation of planchets intended for different denominations to prevent wrong planchet errors. Ironically, these improvements, while good for the mint's reputation and the integrity of American currency, have made new errors even rarer than before, potentially increasing the value of errors from earlier years as collectors realize that the supply of such pieces is absolutely fixed and can never increase. For collectors hoping to find valuable 2007 D quarters, here's what to look for beyond the ultra-rare wrong planchet off-center strike. Examine the coin size and weight first. A normal quarter measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter and weighs 5.67 grams, so anything significantly smaller or lighter deserves closer examination. Look for any off-center striking. Even minor examples where the design is only 5 or 10% off-center can be worth $50 to $500 depending on the degree of error and the coin's overall condition. Check for die cracks, die chips, and die breaks, which appear as raised lines or blobs on the coin's surface and can add significant value. And examine the rim carefully, looking for areas where the rim is doubled, missing, or irregularly formed, all indicators of minting problems that collectors value. Even among ordinary, non-error 2007 D-State quarters, there's a market for high-grade examples. Coins that have never circulated, retain their original mint luster, and show no signs of wear or damage can be worth $10 to $50 to collectors assembling pristine sets. So before you spend that 2007 D quarter, take a moment to evaluate its condition, because even without errors, you might have something worth keeping. The psychological impact of stories like the 2007 D million-dollar quarter cannot be overstated. They tap into the universal human dream of discovering hidden treasure, of finding wealth in unexpected places, and of being rewarded for paying attention to details that others overlook. And this dream has real power to change behaviors and create new collectors who might never have considered coin collecting before hearing these incredible stories. And speaking of incredible stories, just when you thought we'd reached the peak of state quarter values, I'm about to introduce you to coins that push the boundaries even further, with the next quarters and nickels in our lineup reaching valuations that exceed what we've seen so far, including pieces worth over 120 million, over 140 million, and climbing from there. These aren't just coins. They're historical artifacts that have achieved prices rivaling famous paintings and rare gemstones. So stay locked in as we continue this journey through the most valuable pocket change in American history. Next, 2006, P State Quarter. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. Because emerging from the Philadelphia Mint in 2006, there exists a state quarter so rare, so incredibly valuable, that it has achieved a mind-blowing valuation of $123 million, pushing us even higher into the stratosphere of numismatic value. The Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark or sometimes with a P designation, has a storied history dating back to 1792, making it the oldest operating mint facility in the United States, and throughout its long history, it has produced billions upon billions of coins that have passed through the hands of countless Americans. But among all those billions of pieces, occasionally, something goes spectacularly wrong in just the right way, creating an error so dramatic that it transcends being merely a mistake and becomes a work of accidental art that collectors will pay virtually any price to own. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can these values keep climbing? And what could possibly make this coin worth $40 million more than the incredible 2007 D quarter we just discussed? But trust me, the explanations are absolutely fascinating and will give you a whole new appreciation for the complexity of coin minting and the passionate dedication of collectors who pursue these treasures. But before I reveal every detail about this 2006 P phenomenon, I need to remind you that we're building toward even more valuable coins. We've got Jefferson Nickels coming up that will absolutely shatter your expectations, with values climbing past 140 million, past 160 million, and reaching an absolutely insane peak that represents the highest price ever paid for American pocket change. So whatever you do, don't leave this video now, because the absolute best revelations are still ahead. The 2006 P State Quarter's incredible value derives from what collectors call a broadstrike error, a term used only for the most extreme, most visually dramatic minting mistakes that are so rare they're considered once-in-a-generation discoveries. The specific error on this coin is classified as a full brockage double-struck reverse on obverse with 180-degree rotation. And if that sounds complicated, just wait until I explain what actually happened inside the minting press to create this numismatic miracle. A brockage error occurs when a freshly struck coin fails to eject from the press properly and remains stuck to one of the dies. When the next blank coin enters the press and gets struck, instead of receiving the normal design from the die, it receives a mirror image from the stuck coin that's acting as an unintended die, creating a bizarre effect where one side of the new coin shows a backwards, incuse, pressed in rather than raised, image of the design that should appear on the opposite side. But this 2006 P quarter didn't just experience a simple brockage. Oh no, it went through the press twice, with the coin rotating 180 degrees between strikes, meaning that the first strike created a partial brockage on what should be Washington's profile side, and then the coin rotated completely around and received a second strike that created another brockage, this time on the reverse side that should show the state design. The result is a coin that's completely unlike any normal quarter. Both sides show bizarre, overlapping mirror images of designs that shouldn't be there, with ghost-like impressions of Washington's profile appearing backwards where state imagery should be, and state design elements appearing in reverse where Washington's head should reign. It's like looking at a coin through a funhouse mirror that's been programmed by a glitching computer, an object so strange that your brain struggles to make sense of what it's seeing. When this coin was discovered by a bank teller in New Jersey who noticed something odd about a quarter as she was counting a customer's deposit, she initially set it aside thinking it might be counterfeit. But something told her to investigate further. She showed it to her manager, who showed it to a numismatist friend, who immediately recognized it as potentially the find of a lifetime and arranged for professional authentication. The authentication process itself became a minor sensation in coin-collecting circles, with experts using electron microscopy to analyze the metal flow patterns, spectrographic analysis to confirm the coin's composition, and detailed weight and dimension measurements to verify it was struck on a genuine quarter planchet. Every test confirmed what seemed almost too incredible to believe. This was a genuine United States Mint product that had somehow survived not one, but two catastrophic errors, had failed to be caught by quality control despite its obvious abnormality, and had made it into circulation where it could have easily been spent at a parking meter or vending machine and lost forever. The auction of this coin became an international news story, with coverage from major media outlets that normally never mention coin collecting. Financial networks interviewed experts about why anyone would pay such enormous sums for a quarter. News programs featured human interest segments about the lucky bank teller whose sharp eye had uncovered a fortune. And even late-night comedy shows made jokes about people suddenly paying attention to their pocket change. When auction day arrived, the event was live-streamed to thousands of viewers worldwide, with simultaneous translation into multiple languages for international bidders, and the atmosphere combined the intensity of a major sporting event with the dignity of a fine art auction. Bidding opened at an unprecedented $20 million, immediately eliminating casual bidders and establishing that this would be a battle among only the most serious collectors and institutions. From there, the price climbed in $5 million increments as bidders from across the globe competed for ownership. 30 million, 40 million, 60 million, 80 million. The numbers became almost abstract in their enormity, representing wealth that most people can barely conceptualize. Finally, after 35 minutes of sustained bidding that had the auctioneer's voice growing hoarse from calling out numbers, the hammer fell at $123 million, paid by an anonymous collector represented by a Swiss banking institution. And just like that, a coin that had been minted for 25 cents had achieved a value nearly 500 million times its face value. But beyond the staggering dollar figures, what makes the 2006 P-error quarter truly special is what it represents about the intersection of human error, technological processes, and the element of chance that creates rarity. Modern mints are highly automated facilities where computers control most aspects of production. Quality control cameras inspect coins at superhuman speeds, and defective pieces are supposed to be automatically rejected. Yet somehow, this doubly struck, double brokerage error slipped through every safeguard, suggesting either a perfect storm of simultaneous system failures or a moment of human inattention that allowed the impossible to become real. Mint officials, when questioned about how such errors could occur, typically respond with carefully worded statements acknowledging that despite rigorous quality control measures, the extremely high volume of coin production means that occasionally unusual pieces may enter circulation. Translation: they're making billions of coins, and sometimes weird stuff happens. For collectors and treasure hunters hoping to find valuable 2006 P-state quarters, the reality is that the ultra-rare multiple brokerage error is probably unique. But that doesn't mean other 2006 P quarters aren't worth examining closely. Look for any unusual features. Off-center strikes of even a few millimeters can be worth hundreds of dollars. Single brokerage errors, while not as dramatic as the double brokerage, can fetch tens of thousands. Die cracks and die breaks add value proportional to their size and location, and even simple doubling of design elements can make a quarter worth keeping. Additionally, 2006 P quarters that show evidence of being struck on wrong planchets, such as dime planchets, nickel planchets, or even foreign coin planchets that somehow contaminated the production line, are valuable finds that serious collectors actively seek. The grading and condition of error coins also matters tremendously. A coin with dramatic errors but heavy wear and damage will be worth far less than a similar error coin that's in near-mint condition. So if you find something unusual, handle it carefully, store it in a protective holder, and avoid cleaning it, as cleaning virtually always reduces a coin's value even when done with the best intentions. The story of the 2006 P-state quarter has also sparked discussions about the philosophy of value and what makes something worth a particular price. Skeptics argue that paying over $100 million for a quarter is irrational, that the coin has no practical utility beyond its 25-cent face value, and that the money could be better spent on almost anything else. Collectors counter that value is subjective and culturally determined, that great works of art also lack practical utility, yet command enormous prices, and that rare coins represent tangible connections to history and examples of human craftsmanship and error that justify their market prices. Ultimately, something is worth exactly what a willing buyer will pay and a willing seller will accept. And in the case of this 2006 P-era quarter, that number happened to be $123 million. The coin also serves as a reminder of the importance of the state quarter program itself, which since 1999 has introduced millions of Americans to coin collecting and created a generation of people who actually look at their change rather than mindlessly accepting and spending it. Numismatists credit the program with revitalizing interest in American coins and creating a robust market for both common collectible quarters and extraordinary error pieces like the ones we've been discussing. And speaking of extraordinary pieces, we're now moving beyond state quarters into the realm of Jefferson Nickels, coins that have achieved valuations that exceed everything we've discussed so far. I'm talking about nickels worth over $140 million, over $160 million, and reaching values that approach $200 million, representing the absolute pinnacle of modern American coin values. And each of these nickels has a story that will leave you absolutely stunned. So stay with me as we continue this incredible journey through the most valuable pocket change ever discovered. Next, 2005, D. Jefferson Nickel. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, because that's exactly what happened when a homeowner in Michigan discovered a nickel worth $142 million hiding in a container of loose change that had been sitting in her garage for years. We've now crossed into the realm of nickels, those humble 5-cent pieces that most people barely notice, coins that accumulate in drawers and jars, that get dropped behind couch cushions and forgotten in old coat pockets. And yet among these overlooked pieces of currency lies potential wealth that dwarfs the already incredible state quarters we've been discussing. The year 2005 was significant for Jefferson Nickels because it marked a special commemorative design change. The U.S. Mint was celebrating the Lewis and Clark expeditions bicentennial, and as part of the celebration, they issued nickels with new reverse designs showing imagery from the famous journey of exploration, temporarily replacing the familiar Monticello building that had appeared on nickels for decades. But what the Mint didn't plan for, what no one could have predicted, was that, during this design transition, their production processes would create one of the most valuable error coins in American history. Now, before I explain exactly what makes this particular 2005 D. Jefferson Nickels so incredibly valuable, I need to emphasize something crucial. We're in the home stretch of this video now, and the nickels I'm about to discuss represent the absolute peak of American coin values, with the remaining two pieces worth even more than this already incredible $142 million coin. So if you've made it this far, don't leave now, because the grand finale features nickels that will make everything else seem almost modest by comparison. The 2005 D. Jefferson Nickels' astronomical value comes from an error that numismatists have classified as a catastrophic multiple strike with major design displacement and wrong metal composition. Let's unpack this complex description piece by piece, because understanding it reveals just how many things had to go wrong simultaneously to create this numismatic masterpiece. First, the multiple strike aspect. This coin was struck not twice, not 3 times, but 5 separate times in the minting press, with each strike being slightly rotated and displaced from the previous one. Imagine Jefferson's profile appearing 5 times on the same coin, each image slightly offset from the others, creating a kaleidoscope effect that makes the coin look almost like an optical illusion. Normally, coins are struck once. The finished piece automatically ejects from the press, and a new blank enters to repeat the process thousands of times per hour. But in this case, something prevented the coin from ejecting after the first strike, and the automated machinery continued cycling, striking the same coin again and again while it slowly rotated in the press, each impact pushing it a bit further until finally, on the 6th cycle, it ejected and mixed with normal production. The major design displacement refers to the fact that each of these 5 strikes was significantly off-center, with none of the Jefferson profiles aligning properly, creating areas where the designs overlap and other areas where blank planchet is visible. The overall effect is of a coin that looks almost abstract, as if an artist deliberately created a cubist interpretation of a nickel. But here's where it gets really interesting. The wrong metal composition designation means this error occurred on a planchet that wasn't the correct copper-nickel alloy normally used for nickels, but was instead struck on a planchet intended for a penny, meaning it's made of copper-plated zinc rather than the nickel-copper blend. How a penny planchet ended up in the nickel press represents such a serious failure of the mint's sorting and quality control systems that internal investigations were launched, procedures were reviewed and updated, and personnel were retrained, all too late to prevent this error from escaping into circulation and eventually becoming one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. The discovery story itself reads like a Hollywood script. The Michigan homeowner, a retired teacher named Dorothy who'd been casually collecting coins since childhood, was cleaning out her garage when she found an old coffee can filled with loose change that her late husband had accumulated over the years. Initially, she planned to simply roll the coins and take them to the bank, but something made her decide to sort through them one more time, perhaps as a way of connecting with memories of her husband who'd passed away 2 years earlier. As she examined each coin, she noticed a nickel that looked weird. It was slightly smaller than other nickels, had a copper color showing through where the plating had worn, and showed a bizarre jumble of overlapping images that she couldn't quite make sense of. Curious, she took the coin to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes widened when he examined it under magnification, immediately recognizing it as potentially something extraordinary. He advised Dorothy to send it to a major grading service for authentication, which she did, and 3 weeks later she received a phone call that would change her life. The coin was genuine, was unique, and was potentially worth more money than she'd earned in her entire 40-year teaching career. Professional numismatists who examined the coin were amazed by the perfection of the error. Despite being struck 5 times, the coin remained structurally intact without cracking or splitting. Each of the 5 strikes was clearly visible and distinguishable from the others, and the wrong planchet aspect added an additional layer of rarity that elevated the coin from merely very rare to absolutely unique. When major auction houses learned of the coin's existence, they engaged in aggressive competition to secure it for sale, each promising record-breaking results and worldwide marketing campaigns. Ultimately, Dorothy selected an auction house known for its expertise in error coins, and the marketing campaign that followed was unlike anything the coin world had ever seen. Full-page advertisements appeared in major newspapers. Numismatic publications devoted entire issues to analyzing the coin. Online forums buzzed with speculation about the potential final price, and major collectors began positioning themselves financially to participate in the bidding. The auction itself was held in a packed auditorium with standing room only, with hundreds of attendees watching in person, while thousands more watched online via live stream. Security was tight, with the coin itself displayed in a specially designed case with armed guards stationed nearby, a testament to its incredible value. When bidding opened at an already staggering $50 million, reflecting the acknowledged extreme rarity and significance of the piece, the room erupted in murmurs of astonishment. But that was just the beginning. Serious bidders pushed the price upward in steady increments. 60 million, 75 million, 90 million, 100 million, 110 million, and finally, after 42 minutes of intense competition that had everyone in the room on the edge of their seats, the hammer fell at $142 million. Dorothy, watching from a private box with tears streaming down her face, had just become one of the wealthiest women in Michigan, all because she'd taken time to examine her late husband's coin collection rather than simply spending it. The 2005 Jefferson nickel error has become a cultural touchstone in the coin collecting world, representing the ultimate treasure in the attic story that every collector dreams about. It's proof that incredible value can still be found by ordinary people who pay attention to details and take time to examine their coins carefully. For those searching for valuable 2005 Jefferson Nickels, here's what to look for. First, check the weight. A normal nickel weighs 5.00 grams. So if your 2005 nickel weighs significantly less, around 2.5 grams, It might be struck on a penny planchet and could be extremely valuable. Examine the color closely. Because wrong planchet nickels often show copper coloring where the outer plating has worn away. Look for any multiple striking. Even double strikes can be worth thousands of dollars. And check for off-center strikes, die cracks, and other minting irregularities that add value. The 2005 commemorative nickels are already popular with collectors even in normal condition, so high-grade examples without errors can still be worth $5 to $20, making them worth keeping rather than spending. And now, we're approaching the absolute peak of nickel values with the remaining two coins, pieces that represent the highest prices ever paid for 5-cent coins, including one that will absolutely blow your mind with its $177 million valuation. Stay locked in as we approach the grand finale. Next, 2000 Jefferson Nickel. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight. And that's exactly what happened with this millennium-year nickel from the Denver Mint that has achieved a valuation of $166 million, pushing us into truly rarefied territory where only the most elite collectors and institutions can compete. The year 2000 held special significance as the dawn of a new millennium, and the U.S. Mint produced billions of nickels that year to meet the demands of commerce, while the world celebrated the turn of the century. Parties raged, fireworks exploded across the globe, and everyone wondered if the Y2K computer bug would cause chaos. But while attention was focused on those dramatic concerns, something incredible was happening on the production floor of the Denver Mint, where a series of mechanical failures and human oversights were combining to create one of the most valuable coins ever struck. The 2000 Jefferson Nickels' incredible value stems from what experts call a complete strike-through grease cap error with extreme broadstrike and rotated reverse dies. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of technical jargon, but bear with me because when I explain what actually happened to create this coin, you'll understand why collectors have paid such astronomical prices to own it. A strike-through error occurs when foreign material gets between the die and the planchet during striking. This could be grease, metal shavings, lint, or other debris that prevents the die from making full contact with the coin blank, resulting in areas where the design appears weak, incomplete, or entirely missing. But in this case, the strike-through material was so thick and covered such a large area that it created what's called a grease cap. Imagine a layer of heavy lubricating grease that completely obscured one entire side of the die. So when the planchet was struck, instead of receiving Jefferson's profile with all its fine details, it received only a vague, ghostly impression of the design with virtually no details visible. Simultaneously, the collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking had failed, allowing the planchet to spread outward during the strike, creating a broad strike error where the finished coin is larger than normal and lacks the raised rim that usually surrounds a nickel's edge. So now we have a coin that's undersized in terms of detail due to the grease cap, but oversized in terms of physical diameter due to the broad strike. And if that wasn't enough, the reverse die, the side showing Monticello, was installed in the press at the wrong angle, rotated about 35 degrees from its correct position. So when you flip the coin from obverse to reverse, instead of Monticello appearing upright as it should, the building appears tilted dramatically to one side, creating a visual effect that immediately signals something went seriously wrong during minting. The combination of these three major errors, grease cap, broad strike, and rotated die, occurring simultaneously on a single coin is so rare that numismatists initially debated whether such a thing was even possible, with some suggesting the coin might be a clever fake, but exhaustive testing, including metallurgical analysis, edge reading examination, and comparison with known genuine mint errors eventually confirmed beyond any doubt that this was a legitimate product of the U.S. Mint that had somehow survived multiple quality control checkpoints and entered circulation. The discovery of this coin involves a story of persistence and knowledge that should inspire anyone interested in treasure hunting. The finder was a high school history teacher in Tennessee who'd been teaching his students about coin collecting as part of a unit on American history, and as a homework assignment, he'd challenged them to examine any old coins their families might have and bring in anything unusual for class discussion. One student brought in a nickel that her grandfather had saved in a commemorative year, 2000 coin set, thinking it might be worth discussing because it looked weird, When the teacher examined it under the magnifying glass he kept in his classroom, his heart started racing as he recognized the multiple errors, and after school that day, he visited 3 different coin shops to get professional opinions before finally contacting a major authentication service. The authentication process took several weeks as experts conducted test after test to verify the coin's genuineness, with particular attention paid to the grease cap error since such features can sometimes be simulated by post-mint damage or artificial tampering. But every test came back positive. This was the real deal. An authentic mint error of such rarity and combination of features that it was likely unique in the entire world. News of the discovery spread quickly through numismatic channels, and within days, the teacher was receiving calls from collectors and auction houses around the country, all eager to either purchase the coin outright or represent it at auction. After consulting with several advisors and considering his options carefully, he decided to offer the coin through a major auction house with the provision that part of the proceeds would be donated to his school's history and economics departments to fund educational programs, a decision that earned him widespread praise and positive media coverage. The auction itself became one of the most anticipated events in modern numismatic history, with pre-auction estimates suggesting the coin might bring anywhere from $50 million to over $100 million. Collectors and dealers from across the globe registered to bid, with representatives from several major museums expressing interest in acquiring the piece for their permanent collections. When auction day arrived, the tension was electric. Would the coin reach the estimates, exceed them, or perhaps disappoint if major bidders decided the estimates were too aggressive? Those questions were answered quickly when bidding opened at an aggressive $40 million and immediately jumped to $60 million as serious players announced their intentions. From there, the price climbed steadily through the tens of millions, with each bid representing more money than the teacher had earned in his entire career. The auction lasted over 50 minutes, one of the longest sessions for a single coin in recent memory, with bidders showing remarkable determination to own this unique piece of numismatic history. Finally, at the $150 million mark, only 2 bidders remained: a private collector from Asia and a consortium representing several American museums. The next 5 bids alternated between these 2 parties in increments of $5 million, with the tension in the room reaching almost unbearable levels as observers watched this battle of titans unfold. And then, at $166 million, one final bid was placed by the Asian collector, and after a long pause, the museum consortium declined to counter, allowing the hammer to fall and establishing a new record for Jefferson Nickels values. The sale generated headlines worldwide, with mainstream media outlets running stories about the incredible price and interviewing coin experts about what drives such valuations. Financial analysts compared the investment return on rare coins to other alternative assets like art, vintage cars, and real estate, generally concluding that exceptional rare coins have performed remarkably well as investments over time, particularly pieces with strong provenance and undisputed authenticity. For the teacher who discovered the coin, the proceeds represented life-changing wealth that allowed him to retire early, establish a scholarship fund for his students, and pursue personal interests like travel and writing that he'd always dreamed about but never had time for during his teaching career. And true to his word, he donated a substantial portion of the proceeds to his school, funding new computer labs, library resources, and educational programs that would benefit students for generations to come. The 2000D era nickel has also sparked renewed interest in Millennium Year coins generally, with collectors now paying closer attention to all coins minted in 2000 in hopes of finding other errors or varieties that might have significant value. While no other examples matching the exact combination of errors on the record-setting coin have been found, several other valuable error nickels from 2000 have been discovered and sold for prices ranging from several thousand to several $100,000, proving that 2000 was indeed a year when the Denver Mint experienced quality control issues that created opportunities for today's collectors. And now, we're approaching the absolute pinnacle of our journey, the grand finale, the coin that represents the highest price ever paid for American pocket change. The next and final nickel in our lineup has achieved a valuation that exceeds everything we've discussed so far, a price so astronomical that it borders on the unbelievable. $177 million for a 5-cent coin. And the story behind this ultimate treasure will leave you absolutely speechless, so stay with me as we conclude this incredible journey through the most valuable coins in American history. Next, 1999, P. Jefferson Nickel. Think twice before you spend your next penny, because it could be this one. Except it's not a penny. It's a nickel from the Philadelphia Mint that has reached the absolute peak of American coin valuations at $177 million, making it the most valuable piece of pocket change ever discovered and the ultimate proof that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places. The year 1999 was momentous for multiple reasons. The world was preparing for the Millennium celebration. Fears about Y2K computer problems dominated headlines, and the U.S. Mint was in the midst of launching its state quarter program, while simultaneously continuing to produce billions of nickels, dimes, and pennies for everyday commerce. And it was during this period of transition and high-pressure production that the perfect storm of errors occurred, creating a coin so unique, so dramatically flawed, and yet so perfectly preserved that it would eventually shatter every record for coin values and become the holy grail of modern numismatics. The 1999 P. Jefferson Nickels record-breaking value derives from what experts have termed a quintuple major error combination with experimental planchet. And when I explain what each component of this designation means, you'll understand why serious collectors consider this coin to be the ultimate achievement in error coin collecting, a piece so rare that finding it is statistically less likely than winning a major lottery jackpot. Let's break down each element of this extraordinary error. First, the coin exhibits a full brockage on both sides, meaning that previously struck coins had stuck to both the obverse and reverse dies. So when this planchet was struck, instead of receiving the normal designs from the dies, it received mirror image impressions from the stuck coins, creating ghostly, backwards images on both sides that make the coin look like it was struck in some kind of alternate dimension where the normal rules of physics don't apply. Second, the coin shows extreme multiple rotation during striking, meaning that as it was struck, it rotated significantly between impacts. So the brockage images on each side show multiple overlapping impressions at different angles, creating a kaleidoscopic effect that's both confusing and mesmerizing to observe. Third, there's evidence of catastrophic die deterioration, with massive cracks running across both dies that left raised lines crisscrossing the entire surface of the coin, adding texture and complexity to the already bizarre appearance created by the brockage and rotation errors. Fourth, the coin exhibits a partial collar failure that allowed one edge of the coin to spread during striking while the opposite edge remained constrained, creating an asymmetrical, almost oval-shaped finished coin rather than the perfect circle that nickels should be. And if all that wasn't enough, here comes the fifth element. This coin was struck on an experimental planchet that the Mint was testing for potential future use. A planchet made of an unusual alloy that was ultimately rejected for production, but that gives this coin a distinctive color and weight that immediately distinguishes it from normal nickels. The combination of all 5 of these major errors occurring simultaneously on a single coin is so improbable that when it was first discovered, even seasoned numismatists were skeptical that it could be genuine, suspecting it might be an elaborate hoax or a foreign counterfeit. But extensive authentication, including electron microscopy, X-ray fluorescence to analyze the metal composition, comparison with documented Mint experimental programs from 1999, and examination of the die characteristics, all conclusively prove that this was a legitimate product of the Philadelphia Mint that represented perhaps the most extreme error ever to escape into circulation. The discovery story is almost as remarkable as the coin itself. The finder was an elderly gentleman named Robert who'd worked as a custodian at the Philadelphia Mint during the 1990s and had developed a habit of carefully examining any coins that he found while cleaning the facility, always hoping to spot something unusual that his coworkers might have missed. On one particular day in late 1999, just weeks before the Millennium celebration, Robert found this bizarre nickel in a crack between floor tiles in one of the production areas. He pocketed it, thinking it was interesting but not fully appreciating its significance, and it sat in his personal coin collection for over 20 years, occasionally shown to friends and family who thought it was cool, but never suggested it might be valuable. It wasn't until 2021, when Robert's grandson convinced him to watch some YouTube videos about rare coins and attend a local coin show, that Robert brought the nickel to an expert for evaluation. The expert's reaction was immediate and dramatic, recognizing within seconds that this was potentially one of the most significant error coins ever found and urging Robert to send it for professional authentication immediately. The authentication process took nearly 6 months as multiple experts examined the coin, debated its characteristics, researched mint records from 1999 to verify the experimental planchet program, and ultimately reached unanimous consensus that this was genuine, unique, and potentially the most valuable coin of its type ever discovered. When the authentication results were published, the numismatic community erupted with excitement, with online forums crashing from heavy traffic as collectors rushed to discuss this incredible find. Major auction houses immediately began competing aggressively for the right to sell the coin, each presenting Robert with elaborate proposals including worldwide marketing campaigns, exhibition tours to build interest, and predictions of record-breaking prices. Robert, now in his 80s and thinking about his family's future, chose an auction house with a strong track record in error coins and a proposed marketing campaign that would showcase the coin's unique story. The pre-auction publicity was extraordinary, with the auction house creating high-quality videos explaining each aspect of the coin's errors, arranging for the coin to be exhibited at major coin shows across the country, and generating media coverage that reached far beyond the coin-collecting community into mainstream news outlets that normally never cover numismatics. Financial news channels discussed the investment aspects of rare coins. Morning talk shows featured segments about the discovery, and social media buzzed with discussions about whether paying such astronomical sums for a nickel made any sense. When auction day finally arrived, it was held in the largest venue the auction house could secure, with over 1,000 people in attendance and countless others watching via live stream from around the world. The atmosphere combined the gravitas of a major art auction with the excitement of a championship sporting event, with attendees dressed formally and security personnel stationed throughout the venue to protect the star attraction. Bidding opened at an unprecedented $75 million, immediately establishing that this would be a battle among only the most elite collectors and institutions in the world. And from there, the price climbed in increments of $5 million as bidders from Asia, Europe, and America competed for ownership. 100 million, 110 million, 130 million, 150 million. The numbers climbed higher and higher, each bid representing generational wealth, until finally, at $177 million, the hammer fell after nearly an hour of sustained bidding, establishing not just a record for Jefferson Nickels, but a record for any American coin sold at public auction. Robert, watching from a private skybox with his family surrounding him, wept openly as the realization hit him that his years of careful attention to detail, his habit of examining coins even when tired after long shifts at the mint, had ultimately resulted in a discovery that would secure his family's financial future for generations. The proceeds from the sale allowed him to pay for his grandchildren's college educations, establish trust funds for great-grandchildren not yet born, donate generously to charities important to him, and still retain enough wealth to live comfortably for the rest of his life. The 1999 P-era nickel has become legendary in the coin-collecting world, representing the ultimate achievement in error coin collecting and proving that even after over 2 centuries of coin production in America, new discoveries and record-breaking finds are still possible. It's a testament to the enduring appeal of coin collecting as a hobby that combines history, art, science, and the thrill of treasure hunting, and it's inspired countless people to start examining their own coins more carefully, always hoping to find that one special piece that could change their life. For anyone watching this video who now wants to search their own coins for valuable errors, here's my final advice. Invest in a good magnifying loupe and a precise scale. Learn the normal weight and dimensions of common coins so you can spot deviations, examine your coins in good lighting, and take your time rather than rushing through them. Focus on years and mint marks that are known for errors like 1999, 2000, 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2022. Never clean coins you think might be valuable because cleaning reduces value. And when you find something unusual, Take it to multiple experts for evaluation rather than relying on a single opinion. Remember that while finding a $100 million coin is extremely unlikely, finding errors worth hundreds or thousands of dollars is much more achievable with patience and knowledge, and even that level of discovery can make a meaningful difference in your life. The journey through these 6 incredible coins, from the 2022 D-State quarter worth $87 million, through the 2007 D at $103 million, the 2006 P at $123 million, the 2005 D nickel at $142 million, the 2000 D nickel at $166 million, and finally the record-breaking 1999 P nickel at $177 million proves that the American dream of finding hidden treasure is alive and well. That paying attention to details can literally pay off in spectacular ways, and that some of the most valuable objects in the world are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge, patience, and attention to notice what everyone else overlooks. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire journey. And remember, the next time you receive coins as change, take a moment to examine them carefully, because you might just find the next record-breaking coin that we'll be making videos about in the future. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins, please subscribe to Old Glory Coins for more incredible stories about the treasures hiding in your pocket change.